So today is about two of these, like, demented dolls.
I'm not good with dolls anyway.
I am not either.
I always was scared my toys would come alive and attack me.
I used to dump all my toys out of my toy box and sleep in it like it was a coffin.
Oh my god.
Warning. The topics discussed on this podcast are subject to adult themes and languages. We seek to unravel the unexplained and unknown. This is Encounters.
I did, though, actually. I used to be afraid that there was a werewolf that was going to jump through my window at night, so I would try and, sleep under the windowsill.
I straight up thought, because one Christmas I ended up accidentally watching American Werewolf in London, so I straight up thought Santa Claus was a werewolf, and, he was going to come into the house and, kill everybody. I refused to go to sleep, not because, I was excited for Christmas. I was trying to save everybody from werewolf Santa Claus.
Okay.
Our childhoods.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Encounters. My name's Dakota.
I'm Amanda.
And today, we are talking about Annabelle and Robert the doll.
Ooh, scary toys.
In today's creature double feature,
Oh!
we'll be talking about a Warren case, one of the, major Warren cases. One of the first ones.
So many.
For them.
So many movies based off of this one thing.
Well, this would spawn the whole Conjuring universe. Specifically, Annabelle would be one of the cases talked about in the book The Demonologist that documents Ed and Lorraine's entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as many cases as they could get their hands on.
Yeah, which is enough.
But we're also diving into another case file that sets up a lot like Annabelle.
Mm-hmm. And has inspired many a movie.
And many believe that a lot of the antics that happen in Annabelle draw directly from Robert the Doll's story.
Mm.
I've always hated dolls.
It's their eyes.
Oh, we had this moment when my great-grandfather died. We were at his house for the funeral, and we had just buried him, and everybody was just gathered around having, I don't know.
Conversation.
And me and a couple of my cousins were up in the attic where there was a guest room and a storage room. And in the storage room, I shit you not, there was this little baby doll that had all its hair, ripped out.
Oh, God.
It had dye on the top of its scalp that looked like somebody had tried to, dye its hair. And its eyes were closed. And normally I would assume it was, one of those dolls that you pick up and the eyes open or whatever, but it looked old as shit. I picked this doll up, and its eyes didn't open, and I was, looking at it and whatever, and somebody called my name. And I looked back at them to answer them, and when I looked back, this doll was staring right at me.
Mm-hmm. That's creepy.
So I threw it back on top of the box, and I left.
Right? Smart.
I did not go back in that house ever again.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
It's since been torn down and everything, but I was like, And my grandma still has a porcelain doll, and it freaks me out still.
Yeah. I have a few. At my mom's house.
You have a few? No.
At my mom's house. I have one. My gran gave it to me. But it's back at my mom's house. It wasn't creepy. It wasn't that creepy. It was creepy, but...
All dolls are creepy. But, I have a couple of skulls and, demon plushies around my house, though. I guess some people would think that's creepy.
Have you ever heard of the island of the dolls? Or the doll island? I can't remember. It's in, off the coast of Mexico or something. It's just whole island full of baby dolls.
I will never go there.
I know. I saw someone, I think it was, who knows, one of those Travel Channel ghost shows, and this group was there, and the same thing kind of happened. One of the baby's dolls' eyes were closed, and they were focused on it, and those eyes popped open. They took off running,
You better believe I would never, ever, Okay, so let's jump right on into talking about the Warren case file known as Annabelle the Raggedy Anne Doll.
like Dakota said, unlike in the movie, Annabelle is just a normal Raggedy Ann doll. In 1970, Donna, who was a nursing student, she was celebrating her birthday when her mom got her this Raggedy Ann doll. She wanted to make her feel better, brighten her mood up since she was in college and nursing school is hard. So, at first, Donna loved it. She didn't think anything weird of it. She would put it on her bed every day when she left to go to school. Soon, she started to notice that the doll would have moved. It was subtle. It was just kind of like changing positions. She said that when she would put the doll on the bed, she would just have its legs out and its arms down. And when she would come home at night, the doll's legs could be crossed. Sometimes the arms were crossed, both. And it was subtle at first, but she did start to notice it. And as she started to notice, it started changing kind of like the position, the gesture. Sometimes the arms were folded flat on its, lap. Sometimes the legs were put in these odd positions.
It was even caught kneeling at points, wasn't it?
Well,
which is like impossible for the doll.
It was after a while. They caught it moving around in different rooms after a while. They caught it sitting on the couch when she would put it in the room. Sometimes when
they being her roommate?
Her and her roommate, yes, Angie. And then one day, yes, they did come home and they found the doll kneeling in front of the front door. And they did say that they tried to make this happen again. They tried to make her kneel again, and it wouldn't do it because it was a Raggedy Ann doll. It didn't have any joints. It's not one of those fancy dolls.
Right, it's just a stuffed doll.
And then after that, after they noticed it would be in different rooms, they start noticing that they were getting handwritten notes. And these notes would be on parchment paper written in pencil. And the interesting fact was, the girls didn't have any parchment paper at all in their apartment. And they didn't have any pencils. They searched everywhere to see if maybe someone was maybe playing a trick on them, someone was breaking into their apartment. And the notes would say things like, help us, help Lou, and Lou happened to be one of their other friends. And he starts to get involved kind of later in the story. And these girls really did think someone was breaking into their house. So they actually would set up little not traps, but little things to see if someone was coming into their apartment when they weren't there and moving this doll around.
Yeah, they even said that they completely rearranged the furniture, completely changed the way rooms looked, so that if anyone were to come into the house, they would notice something had changed because they had just recently done it.
Mm-hmm. They would put scotch tape on the doors at night when they went to bed to see if someone was coming in, and nothing was moving, nothing would change, but the doll would be in either different positions, different places.
Well, something was moving.
Yes. At first, they didn't get any feelings of anything negative in their apartment. It was just really weird occurrences, right? And then one day, they came in, and the Raggedy Ann doll was laying on the bed, and they found blood on its hands and 3 drops of blood on her chest. And this is when they decided to call in a medium.
Ooh.
So they call in this medium, and the medium says that there was a girl who died there before their apartment complex is put up. And this little girl was named Annabelle Higgins.
She liked to run in the fields where the apartments would have been and play in the fields as a little girl.
And she said she was super happy there, but one day, unfortunately, she died, right? And then these apartments go up, and everybody who's living in them are pretty much like adults, and they're worried about their own lives, and they're not paying attention to her. And then when these nursing students moved in, they were students for one thing, so they were younger, and then the doll showed up. And she said that she just wanted to play with the doll and be near them, and she asked if she could take over the body of the doll.
I just want to be in the doll.
The girls are like, of course, like, they're compassionate, they're nurses. They're like, yes, of course you can take over the doll. After that, that's when everything starts to change. Lou, their friend, told them that he didn't like this, it wasn't a good idea, they needed to not. Because the girls started acting like Annabelle was a human after that.
Yeah, like, they completely personified this thing. This was no longer a doll, it was a little person.
Yeah.
Because the spirit of Annabelle was residing within the vessel of the Raggedy Ann doll.
So Lou's like, y'all, this is not a good idea.
This is some demented shit, y'all.
Right. So after that, it said that Annabelle, the spirit, was very angry. So one day while Lou's sleeping, he has this kind of almost outer body experience. He said he has a recurring nightmare, and then he wakes up from this nightmare and sees himself, and he sees that Annabelle is at the end of his bed, and she like climbs up him and just like puts both of her hands around his neck, and she is choking him, right? And he said it was like pushing a brick wall. I could not get this doll off of me. No matter what I did, I could not get it off of me. And he said it choked him until he passed out, and the next morning he woke up and he was like, I know that wasn't a dream. Like, that was real. So the next day he goes over to hang out with Angie because they're going on a road trip. They're in the apartment looking over maps, you know, going over their routes and whatnot, and they hear a loud commotion from Donna's room. So they run into the room, and he sees Annabelle just kind of thrown in a corner. So he walks over there, and he like turns around. It says he doesn't really like to talk about what he saw, but he says he turns around and he sees something in just he feels like a burning pain and starts screaming. And Angie said when he turns around, you can see blood stains forming on his shirt. They go out into the living room. He lifts up his shirt, and you just see claw marks. 4 claw marks across his chest and 3 across his stomach. And that's when the girls decide to call in a priest.
Yeah, because they healed almost immediately, and then
like
were like gone within 48 hours.
Yeah. But nobody took any pictures, unfortunately. But they all.
You just got attacked by something that scratched you in the doll room. I wouldn't think to take pictures either.
I think you would.
I would think to burn the doll, and then that's bad, and that's not the way to deal with that.
See, I think you might take pictures because you want to be like, you know what, this happened. But that is kind of true because I went go something once, got a bruise, and I did not take any pictures of it. So you just gotta believe me. So I guess that's right. But they decide to call in the church. They call in
Father Hegan.
Right? I did write Hegan. Yeah, you're right. I wrote it down. I was like, no, that must be. You're right. They called in Father Hegan, and he listens to their story and decides to go to more of I want to say higher up priest.
Well, they determined that it's no longer from the way that the interactions occur with the doll at this point with the physical attacks, they determined that it's no longer a human spirit, so it's something more demonic in nature. So they try and seek a spiritual elder in the church, and that's when they contact Father Cook.
Yes, and Cook decides to call in the Warrens.
The Warrens.
Our favorite ghost hunting couple. Yay! And, you know, Ed Warren comes in and is like, this is not a spirit. This is a demon. No, I'm kidding.
No, Lorraine was like, why would you invite it to stay? What is going on?
And the girls are like, well, we thought it was a little girl. You know, we felt bad for her. Couldn't turn our back on her.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not. It's tricking you. Spirits don't possess dolls or inanimate objects. They were pretty much telling them that sooner than later, this thing was going to kill somebody to possess somebody. It was a demonic spirit. Ed
definitely comes to the conclusion that this demonic spirit was on the path to trying to take over someone to commit murder.
Yeah.
It was working on infestation and then towards the possession stage.
After that, they have the father, bless everybody, bless the apartment, and Donna and Angie ask the Warrens to take Annabelle with them. They don't want it They don't want it in the house anywhere. So the Warrens take Annabelle, and actually on the way home, I think Lorraine says she felt like something was going to happen.
Yeah, no, there's a whole conversation between Father Cook and Ed, and Father Cook is like, make sure you don't, like, drive on the main road with that thing. It could cause you to have major accidents. And Ed's like, that's probably a good idea. So they took the back roads home, and their car stalled out, like, every mile that they could go. And they almost had 2 accidents with oncoming traffic that were said to have been caused by the doll. And it just took forever to get home with it.
Mm-hmm.
But once they got it home, they had a special box built for Annabelle.
They put her down in the basement.
In that wonderful little museum of theirs.
Right? They did have this young priest that came over to visit them. And he was asking about Annabelle, like, do you really think this thing, is demonic, whatnot? And the priest turns to Annabelle and goes, I think you're just a rag doll. I don't believe there's anything to be scared about. I think you're just a rag doll. And Ed was like, you know what? You need to be careful what you say. You don't antagonize it, type of thing. And Lorraine told him as he was leaving, like, drive safe. Please be careful on your way home. And that night, that young priest was in a head-on collision. Totaled his car, completely destroyed his car. And he barely made it out of there alive.
Ugh. There's also some terrifying stories that Ed has upon bringing Annabelle home for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There's the story that when he got home, he sat it on the desk and it levitated off the desk and then fell completely inertly on the top of the desk. And then they actually caught it moving around their house before they had the box installed.
And yeah, in this little box, it's this little glass box that says, like, it says something kind of dramatic, like, don't open ever or something.
Yes.
And there's, like, a cross above it, like...
It has the Devil Tarot card on it.
Mm.
And it is imbued with a bunch of different blessings. But the doll's favorite place, apparently, in Ed and Lorraine's house was always Ed's lounge chair. Which, that's enough for me. I'm done with that.
Right. People have offered to buy Annabelle, and the Warrens refuse to sell. Like, people have offered up to $2 million, and they said they can't in good conscience sell, like, let Annabelle out. Like,
Annabelle, please stay in your box.
Yeah, stay in your lane, bitch.
No, I didn't say that. You very nice demon.
I just find it kind of funny that they decided in that movie that they had to make Annabelle look so creepy. When I think, and I think you will agree, that a Raggedy Ann doll would have been scarier.
The pictures of this Raggedy Ann doll are terrifying in and of itself. The picture of Lorraine carrying this thing out of the house, I never, ever want to have that ever near my house.
Right? Just something so innocent looking, just attacking somebody? That's craziness.
But even to this day, even after The Conjuring came out, Lorraine sat down with an interviewer and she went on record to say that of all the things that they have in that occult museum, of the satanic idols, the fucking Amityville memorabilia, of all the things, that doll is what I'm most frightened of. And the curators agree. Do you think Annabelle killed Ed?
No. Did he die of complications?
Yeah, that sounds like a little demonic.
None of my damn business.
If that bitch is throwing cancer around, I am not trying to ask.
Right? Between her and those black-eyed children, dang.
Right? Annabelle is still on exhibit at the War and Occult Museum. You can still see Annabelle in her little box. Though, granted, the War and Occult Museum is currently closed for zoning laws and will be reopening soon once they get all that shit out of the basement.
Where are they gonna put it?
Not in the basement, because that's illegal. But shifting gears, let's talk about a haunted doll that is in a museum that is not in a basement. It's in a fort. Because it's evil. No, Robert, don't hate me.
I mean, Robert.
Robert, I'd like to ask for permission to do this podcast.
Exactly.
I don't think he granted it, but we're going to do it anyways.
Right.
So, Robert the Doll is where we would get a lot of the killer doll folklore that we would see in movies like Child's Play with Chucky. And a lot of people say it also influenced the story of Annabelle, the more recent movies like Annabelle Creation and Annabelle and stuff like that. Not Donna and Angie's story. But Robert is actually a 3-foot tall linen doll stuffed with straw in a white sailor outfit with a little white sailor hat. And he has a little stuffed animal with him. Some people say it's a lion, other people say it's a dog. The curator says it's a lion, so I'm going to call it a lion.
It looks like a lion to me.
He has buttons for eyes and hair that looks human. Like, when you look at pictures of Robert, he looks smaller than he is. I saw a picture of them taking him out to clean, and this thing, thinking about this thing moving around the house, I was like, no.
That thing is huge. It's child size. It's huge.
It was child size. It is child size. It's
child size.
And thinking about it, its little pitter patter moving around the house,
Woo.
and the little angry
Scared the
soul
shit out of me.
that resides in it.
Yeah.
So,
Crap out of me.
the history of Robert the Doll stems all the way back to the late 1800s with the Otto family that moves to Key West, Florida. They would take residence in the home that is now known as the Artist's House. But
I think you can still stay in.
yeah, you can. I watched a video today of a bunch of YouTubers that just wanted to go in there and piss off spirits, and I was like, oh.
I did see that too. They were annoying as fuck.
But being the 1800s, they did have servants, and being the 1800s, they did not treat them very well. Thomas Otto hired a young Haitian servant woman to take care of his son, Robert Eugene Otto. And there's some contextual obscurity here, but it's said that Robert's mother catches this woman performing Haitian black magic and fires her. And it's at this time that the woman gifts the sailor doll to young Robert Eugene Otto. Now, people think that this woman gave the Otto family a voodoo doll. Other people say that the Robert style comes from like a window display setup, and that the outfit that he's wearing would have actually most likely been Robert Eugene's sailor outfit.
Yeah.
Either way, the boy became inseparable from his doll. Playing with it,
Yeah.
even giving it a seat at the dinner table. Robert would give him like pieces of food from the dinner table while his parents weren't looking.
Yeah. He took him everywhere.
He would even take him shopping into town with him. And would be tucked into bed at night with Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Robert Eugene started going by Gene instead of Robert, which was his given name, because he said, Robert is the doll. I am Gene. It's at this time that Gene's parents would start to hear Gene playing in his room with Robert, saying things like,
Oh, Robert, you're so funny.
and then voices returning in a deeper tone to say,
Thank you, Jean.
which would have been enough for me. At that point, I'd been like, we gotta burn it. We gotta burn it. It's got, what is it? Why? No.
We gotta get rid of it.
It's at this time that Jean apparently starts having, like, major tantrums with servants and his mother. Like, they say this kid would just all of a sudden snap into an anger that they've never seen before. And then, like, go blank and be like, what's going on? Then furniture started being removed. Toys were starting to turn up mutilated. And every time that someone would come bursting in, you could hear giggling while it was happening, and Jean would exclaim, Robert did it! But his parents were like, that's bullshit. You just want attention. What are you doing? And apparently they got sick of replacing servants, so
Yeah.
they, like, took Robert the doll away and locked him into the roof, or, like, into the attic. And sent, Jean to, like, a prep school or some shit like that. Like, at that point, that's when the relationship was severed. But
Yeah, he was.
Jean's parents...
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he
it didn't
was
stop
in
Robert, because
university.
Jean's parents said that they could hear footsteps coming from the attic for many, many, many years.
It didn't stop Robert.
Oh yeah, people would see him moving in the attic windows. I mean, there's this 3-foot living doll.
That's what would get me.
I can't
That would
even.
get me. That I would literally be like, y'all, you know there's a moving doll in your house?
But once Jean's father died, Jean would come into possession of the house that he grew up in. And he would move him and his wife there and rediscover Robert in the attic. At this time, Jean was actually a painter, and he's not a bad painter. You can look up some of his stuff. Robert Eugene Otto.
He was kind of popular.
He was pretty popular at the time, but once he moved back in this house, it's almost like Robert and Jean picked up like nothing had ever happened. Except Robert had a little bit more of an attitude. Locked in a fucking attic for 20, 30 years, bitch.
Shit.
They returned giving him a seat at the table. It was even said that there was a chair beside the marital bed of Jean and his wife.
This shit. I'm sorry.
Where
Shit,
Robert
crazy.
would sit while they slept together or tried to make love. She said she was uncomfortable. And Jean would insist that Robert had to be there.
Why?
Well, this did not sit well with his wife.
Surprise.
Supposedly, she went insane and died of unknown reasons.
Yeah.
Just up and died
Yeah,
one day.
It died.
And Jean would soon die
That's
afterwards.
strange, isn't it?
Robert went back to the
Robert
attic,
went back to
and
the
it was
attic.
also at this time that Robert would start attacking people. Anyone who passed by the turret room said that they would hear him laughing. You would hear movement coming from the attic, and sometimes you could find the doll just randomly throughout the house. There was one moment, the lady that moved in afterwards, Myrtle Reuter, purchased the artist's house after the Otto's death in 1974 and became Robert's newest caretaker. People said that they would hear giggling and whatnot throughout the house, and a lot of times there would be a weird presence anytime someone talked bad about Otto. But it was a time where Myrtle experienced Robert moving throughout the house that would get her. She was in bed, sleeping, and she heard giggling coming from like a corner of her room. And then she heard what sounded like soft footsteps coming up the bed. At this time, she started to feel pressure on the bed as if something was crawling towards her. She freaked out, threw the light on, and at the foot of her bed was Robert with a kitchen knife.
No.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I believe you. I'm just having an honest reaction. That would be some bullshit.
And that was enough for her to be like, fuck that, I'm out.
Fuck this bitch, I'm out.
After 20 years of dealing with his antics, she donated him to a museum in 1994. Specifically, the museum is called the East Martello Museum, and he is still there to this day with his sailor suit clutching his little lion.
Yep. And supposedly, after he got there, the museum started having incidences.
Yeah, you can still stay at the artist house to this day, and they say it's got, like, weird vibes and that Robert's, like, spirit might still be there, but the museum straight up has experiences where Robert is, like, moving through the museum.
No.
There's an experience even with a woman in a tour group that got a little too drunk and was, like, getting foul-mouthed with Robert, and according to a couple of the witnesses there, Robert threw his stuffed lion at the woman and, like, glared her down, so much so that it freaked her out and she ran away.
Of course. Anyone would.
One of the caretakers at the museum even had an experience. Every year they have Robert cleaned for preservation purposes, and she had just overseen him getting cleaned and put back into his box. Yeah, I'm about to say cage, but... And she was closing down for the night and went to Robert, and on his feet there was dirt. But they had just had him clean, so she couldn't explain it. And apparently she ran out, like, she ran for the doors. And apparently the maintenance men, like, chased after her, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she was like, I am not going back in there. And just kept going.
Yeah.
They also say that Robert likes to hex and curse people.
Which I can understand if it's a voodoo doll.
According to museum, like, rules, you have to ask Robert permission before taking any pictures with him. Specifically, you have to go up to him and look at him and say, Robert, may I have your permission to take your picture? And in some instances, people say the doll will move slightly, giving permission. But if you don't ask for permission, it's said that Robert hexes you and you begin to have bad luck. People have even, like, put in the newspaper that they got into fights because they got cursed by Robert.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an entire exhibit right next to Robert in the museum of apology letters from people from the museum saying, I'm sorry, please don't be mad at me, please remove your curse.
Yeah. I mean, people get divorced, people get in car accidents, it's just horrible things start happening to these people. And they're just like, Robert, please forgive me.
The museum also receives, like, gift packages of candy and toys and even joints. People even send joints to Robert, which I thought was interesting. But apparently, as precaution, they throw all these things away because they don't want to take the risk of being poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense to me.
Right. And it's kind of interesting. Robert has, like, social media. Like, he's up with the times.
He's got his own movie.
A few.
He's got his own books. He inspired Child's Play, which freaks me out to this day. No, I'm sorry. Chucky is freaky.
Chucky is really freaky.
My favorite was Chucky 2, though, The Bride of Chucky. I would not want to meet Robert the doll. I especially wouldn't want to meet him with a fucking kitchen knife at the end of my bed.
Oh, you got me fucked up. No way.
No way.
That thing would be gone instantly. I'd probably send it to you. Like,
Why would you do that?
'Cause I don't want
No.
it.
Well, see, and my initial reaction would be to burn some shit like that, but Ed and Lorraine vehemently talk against that because they say as long as it's in a vessel, it's contained. The moment you, like, burn it. Like, you're setting it free. You either have to sequester it or you have to, like, put it in water.
Yeah, that's what I heard about Ouija boards, too.
But, yeah, that's all I have about Robert.
Well, that's it.
Hey, well, we made it through another episode. I hope you guys don't have nightmares about dolls, because I will tonight.
Yeah, they're gonna kill you.
I'm gonna see my grandma's porcelain doll in my nightmares. I'm gonna be like, oh my god, it's little Lucy.
No, please.
Join us next week when we talk about the Warren Occult Museum. We're gonna share some spooky stories, some haunted objects, and an all-around fun time. If you like what you hear, please follow us on Facebook at Encounters a Paranormal Experience. You can find us on Instagram at Encounters a Paranormal. There's also episodes available now on iHeartRadio. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and many other podcasting sites. Please, guys, we love you. Leave us reviews on iTunes.
Yes.
Leave us ratings on iTunes. I'm Dakota.
I'm Amanda.
Stay spooky.